We founded the Yes and Laughter Lab as sort of a cooperative project between two organizations. The one that I run and the one that Mourad runs, Center for Media and Social Impact, is based at a university. And that's the one that I direct. And Mourad runs a cultural agency in New York City called Moore and Associates. And we really decided to kind of put our heads together to create something that would really more expansively resource comedians that are talking about topics that matter, from lived experience, from communities that are often marginalized because of the way that the entertainment system in the US and around the world kind of has been set up for a long time. I will not get into all those things because that's sort of a downer. And really designed the Yes and Lab to become a place of community and growth, and really a place for you to find other comedians that are doing meaningful work and to kind of find your village, help each other, learn practical, important skills, grab resources, make incredible relationships with people in the entertainment industry and in a whole range of organizations that might be, already working in the space of the comedy that you're creating. So, okay, so in a nutshell, you are here because you're interested in applying to be a Yes and Laughter Lab Fellow. I will heretofore call that YALL. Well, obviously, Yes and Laughter Lab. I want to explain a little bit about the fellowship application process and then tell you what happens if you become part of this community. In terms of your applications, again, we have all this really precise stuff already on our website, so I won't bore you too much with those details, but very quickly, the bottom line strokes. Sorry, y'all, I'm mixing all the idioms because it's been such a long day. What did I just say? That sentence made no sense. Anyway, here's the bottom line is what I was trying to say. Okay. Your applications are due Sunday, June 8th. By midnight. Don't forget about the time difference and time zone. We've seen that before. It's always quite tragic. We will notify applicants of their status by September 12th. You should submit one project if you are the only person on the team. But if you are a member of a creative team that's two or more people and you are on a second team, sure, you can show up in a second application package. We've seen that before. The kinds of comedy is anything. Projects can be really any format: web videos, live performance, film, television series, print, screenplay, any kind of comedy style, satire, parody, sketch, stand-up, musicals. We've seen it all. That's very exciting. And in terms of like what issues should the project be around, this is very, very, very broad. I think our only real requirement here is that your project in some way is interrogating a real social issue of some kind, right? So, for example, structural racism, gender equity, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, ableism, disability justice, mental health. You get the idea. So, in some way, is dealing with a topic that matters. And our website has lots of examples of projects that have been selected each year. And so you'll get a sense of how that mix of comedy and serious topic play out. But the most important thing that we want to convey to you on this level of things, this level of tactical detail, is the comedy is the most important thing. So let's say, for example, that I wrote the most amazing thing about reproductive health for women. Very important, problematic. And let's say I wrote a beautiful thing that's not funny. I would not get in, right? No matter how important the issue is, no matter how beautifully I wrote it in a serious way, if it's actually not comedy, it wouldn't get in. So that's probably the most important thing that we want to share with you all about that. There are a number of other detail things that I could just zip through really quickly. Probably the most important is if you have a sample of the work, we definitely encourage you to include that. For those of you who aren't familiar with how the application sort of setup is, there's a series of prompts. It's like filling out a Google form where you just, you're answering some questions like, what is my project? What is the, what is it about? What's the state of completion? Please use that opportunity also to be funny. So again, I would go back to the thing that I just said, which is if I spent the lion's share of my time in that application area convincing you about the problem of reproductive health, and I didn't even make you crack a smile with my comedy, it's tricky because it is ultimately a comedy project. If you have a number of you are writers, not performers, we love that. We have tons of writers in the YALL community. We understand that sometimes you're a writer and a performer, and sometimes you're really a writer first. And again, we love that. And so if you are someone submitting a pilot, a script, or a screenplay for a feature, go ahead and submit your pages. You don't need to submit more than 12 pages. It's actually a max of 12 pages because you all already know this rule of thumb by whoever is already reviewing your work. If, it should be pretty clear, 12 pages, or also known as 12 minutes in, why something is funny and the characters are developed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can apply again if you are already a participant. If that applies to any of you all, you're allowed to apply with the same project or a new project. And if you are part of a creative team, you can have up to 2 principal people be fellow teams. And that's just because this is foundation supported, and sadly, our dollars are not infinite, and so we can really pay for 2 people per team. Okay, so let me explain a little bit about how YALL works in terms of the fellowship, and then what happens after that. So YALL is really, the people that are welcomed into this community are either fellows or finalists. So fellows are 2 of the people that you're about to meet, Caty and Batoul, who were YALL Fellows from this year. We choose up to about 10 to 12 fellows. So YALL Fellows are really the YALL community members who are selected to present a pitch of their project that they submitted at the YALL Showcase Festival. And the YALL Showcase Festival is now part of YALL Comedy Fest. Hang on to that. It's a comedy festival that we now have wrapped around this whole experience. And finalists are identified as kind of runners-up, but finalists are invited into our community in lots of different ways. They are invited to submit to perform at YALL Comedy Fest. Let's see, access to year-round professional development, networking opportunities, etc. Okay, let me pause here and say it's really important for us that you all understand that it is not the 3 humans that you just met who are selecting all of this. That would, first of all, be an awfully big job. Also, no, that's not how it works. We have a really vast community of amazing people that we invite into our selection committee, which operates a little bit like a film jury, if you all are familiar with that kind of model. So we have anywhere from 20 to 30 people who are diverse in every kind of way, lived experience, comedically. We have people from social justice organizations that are part of that, entertainment industry, fellow comedians, writers, producers, like a really full list. Every application has at least, I'm going to mess up the details here, and Claire will help me later, she'll correct me, but at least 3 to 5 people are looking at every single application. So we're just the people who make the machinery run, but it's a very big community of professionals that actually select that. So I just wanted to mention that here in case you were wondering like how much of a black hole that is. Okay, so what do you get to do if you're selected as a YALL Fellow? So you're invited to a couple of different things that are pretty exciting. One is because we really focus at the YES and Laughter Lab on helping people really find new skills, improve skills that they already have, maybe develop skills they didn't know they needed in terms of pitching, writing development, networking, accessing people that you might not know yet in the entertainment industry. Sort of, we love the idea of skipping through 18 maybe meetings to get to a couple solid ones, right? So you have access to, you'll be invited to our intensive training weekend, which we call YALL Camp. That's a 3-day experience where our team and a bunch of experts that we invite in from entertainment and social justice come in, and basically we spend the weekend together working on your pitches, working on your material, really helping people feel like they're getting some pretty solid professional development and also creating community with one another. So that is November 7th through 10th in Pasadena. You're also invited to attend a whole bunch of professional development and like just opportunities for fun that we host throughout the year, like happy hours and gatherings and webinars like, hey, so you want to sell a pilot 101? How do you do that? We'll invite, someone meaningful in to do that. So that happens throughout the year. And then finally, the big event is you're invited to pitch. Well, you are not just invited to pitch, you're expected. It's actually a requirement and a fun one to present your pitch, which is your big idea that you applied with. You get the big song and dance on the big stage. And basically we have this this amazing pitch panel of people. This year it was Roy Wood Jr. and Sarah Cooper and Ai-jen Poo, the incredible movement leader, several agents, the head of the Sundance Episodic Lab, just an amazing group of humans who will basically offer what, I'd like to meet with you and read your script. I'd like to connect you with this person. Oh, Batoul, have you thought about animation? That's a real thing that happened to Batoul this year. So just idea generation and support and community. And that is part of what is now, we used to, when we first started this program in 2019, we just had the pitch showcase events. And then we realized that truly this community was so outstanding. It's kind of hard to watch mediocre comedy after working in the YALL comedy world, because the comedy and the comedians are so incredible. And so we decided there really should be public facing events for people to participate in beyond the pitch showcase, which is a little bit more of a closed door event. So YALL Comedy Fest is now, we just wrapped our 2nd year of a full comedy festival in New York City in April. It's pretty fun. And anyone who is a part of the YALL community, which would be you all as fellows or you all even as finalists, all of you are eligible to pitch to perform at YALL Comedy Fest. And so that's become, and the only performers at YALL Comedy Fest are part of this community. So those are kind of the big strokes. Again, I'm mixing the idioms. That does not even everybody knows what I'm saying. Those are the main ideas that we wanted to convey. And I'm going to hand it back over to Bethany Hall to fill in probably the important nuances that I left out. But before I do that, we just strongly encourage you to have fun with the applications. Enjoy your fun writing. Be fun as fun as you feel that you can be. And because really, this is a community for weirdos and beautiful stories that haven't been told, and ways for you to use comedy as catharsis, resilience, venting, but it really must be funny. So thank you very much. And we're really very honored that you think enough of our program, or have even heard about it enough to want to join a webinar on a probably rainy Wednesday, wherever you are. Okay, back over to Bethany.
Caty, I think you summed it up so well. The only thing I'm just going to reiterate again, and we can get into the nuts and bolts of things, and also it will become clearer and clearer to you if you move on to be a fellow or a finalist. But please be funny. We have to read these scripts. We need to read your applications. You know, we have experts. We are housed with so many social justice experts. You don't need to tell us the statistics. We know them. We got the experts for it. So take that stress away and let your personality shine. And also, as a member of the WGA who, you know, fought for so long for us to not have AI interrupt our art, don't let AI do your writing for you. Do it yourself. Pull your personality into it. And then I had one, this isn't the time, but I'm just going to add one little stinking hot tip, which is share less. Like, share the essential information about your project, focus on your project, focus on what you've really mastered. And then if like you're submitting a script, you don't need to send us your stand-up unless it's the best stand-up we've ever seen. So that's just a little hint from yours truly. With that, Caty, congratulations, great work. I would love to introduce again Batoul and Kate, and if you could each just tell us a little bit about yourselves and your y'all experience this year.
And these were, again, in case we've just destroyed your listening ears with all our words, just a reminder that Batoul and Kate are 2025 YALL Fellows.
Batoul, you want to go first?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Batoul. I'm a teacher, TV writer from New York City. I went to school for teaching, but wrote the project I applied to YALL with in college. It's called Ajnabiya. It's a half-hour comedy pilot set in 1998 where Australian-raised teenagers move back to the ancestral homeland, Israeli-occupied southern Lebanon, and prove that nothing, not even war, is as explosive as the daily minutia of the average teenage girl. So it's very dairy girls, but in Middle East. Um, and so when I applied, I had a done script and truthfully, nothing else to my name. I'm not a performer. So when they say they accept writers, not performers, they mean it. Um, I'm now doing like open mics and stuff. And so like they really just like push out the performer in you. I was just rereading my application today. And I think what she says, personality, be conversational. It's not like you're writing a grant or like a college essay. Um, and really just like put your heart on the page. I had just the most amazing experience. I've done some other fellowships, but really the emotional, professional, financial support that these people like put behind each of their fellows and also finalists is really unbelievable, and it doesn't stop, you know, the day the festival ends. And just really recommend applying. You have nothing to lose.
I love that Batoul's doing open mics now.
Yeah, Batoul.
Just need a
Didn't
minute
know.
with that. That's
Yeah, but
awesome.
now we got another place to be.
Hi, I'm Kate Sisk. I'm in New York. I'm primarily a stand-up comic, but I'm also a writer and actor. I applied with a half-hour pilot. I had a script. I had kind of nothing to do with it. I'd written pilots before that I wasn't proud of. I finally landed on something that I was happy about. And so that's why I decided to submit it to y'all. I would say in the definitely sell. I had a script, so I already knew what my show was. If you don't have a full script, like they said, that is okay, but know what your show is. Be able to like pitch it pretty quickly in those like short answer questions. My pilot was about a fat couple who compete in competitive wife carrying, which is a real obstacle course sport. And then the wife transitions. So that's what my pilot was about. And we did get the chance to get notes from a WGA writer on our pilots, but I would say mainly what I took away from y'all was learning how to pitch a project, learning how projects are bought and sold, learning what a production company does versus what like an exec at a network does versus like what a studio is, which is still, I don't think I could describe it, but I at least have a better hold on it than I did before. And also learning about how the nonprofit world literally invests money in the creation of like TV shows that you've seen. I knew that y'all was combining those worlds. I thought that was kind of y'all inventing something. They are just trying to connect us to those people. That infrastructure already exists. Some of you might know this. I didn't. There are people whose whole job it is at nonprofit to like shape culture through TV, documentaries, movies, podcasts, media. So getting introduced to those people was very cool, both eye-opening about certain issues, and also like rewarding, like those people want to read your scripts, those people might fund your project. So that was definitely brand new information I was learning. Yeah, in the short answer questions, be funny. And if you don't feel like you can be funny in that particular question, just add more information about yourself. Like take it as an opportunity to just say, oh, and this thing is something that you haven't directly asked me, but it would help my application for you to know that I X, Y, and Z. I have 5 kids, or I used to be an airplane pilot, or like whatever it is. I think that's about it. The live pitch was very cool. They did. We did receive money. We received money to go to cover our travel to the training, and then we received some money to help us develop our projects. Is there anything I'm missing?
I think you guys are doing an amazing job. And I did want to say, like, Kate is an incredible stand-up. So Kate, even though they were submitting a script, they included their stand-up because it like helped us understand like this person is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So, but just understand the difference. Claire, I see some questions coming through. Do you want to let people know how to share their questions?
Yeah, so we are I'll drop in the chat right now a form. Let me just double check that this is the right form. I got a lot of y'all forms going. Okay, so this is a form where you can add your question, and the last 15 minutes or so of this webinar, we'll be answering them. So a lot of people have the same questions, so we just like to group them together and make sure we can get as many answered as possible. But yeah, please add your questions in the form and we'll answer in a couple minutes.
If I could add one more thing, it's like clearly a competitive process to get accepted, but once you're in, it is not competitive at all. It's actually incredibly collaborative, and I feel like I came out of it with colleagues and friends. So it's not this like cutthroat thing. It's not like one person wins a deal at the end of the thing. Like everyone will come out with something, and those relationships are really part of the prize.
Thanks for saying that, Kate. That was actually one of the first questions I wanted to ask both of you. You know, we talk a lot about like you do this and you do this and you get this or that, but in our opinion, I think one of the most beautiful things about y'all is the community. So if you could each tell us a little bit about your community experience or any friendships you've made, we'd love to hear about it.
Oh my God. I mean, that first day in Pasadena when, the camp, I was so nervous on that plane. And then you walk in and everyone is just like so excited to see you. And it's funny because they know you, but I didn't particularly know them. Just like the nicest community of people. And like there's like the vertical networking and like producers and execs. But really I'm like the most grateful for the lateral networking and like making friends on in the hotel and just like swapping scripts and staying up or getting up early in the morning and pitching to each other. And to Kate's point, your stuff is so different. Like no one's taking anyone's spot ever. Like it doesn't exist. And like I've heard some people's pitches like 8 times, and it's just such a joy each and every time, and you learn from each other. And Yeah, I mean, we got that group chat. We like we're pretty connected, um, close friends, and it's one of the best with the finalists as well. And then when Y'all Fest comes and you just get to like celebrate and bask in everyone's wonderfulness, um, it's really nice to know that there's a collaborative community element and not so like competitive, and everyone's really rooting you on.
Kate, do you have anything to add to that?
Um, yeah, in addition to that, um, I'll second Batul's point that everyone is like so different from one another. Um, that you there really does just I think sometimes there can be a sense of like forced scarcity um of opportunity, and obviously there's only enough room for 10 to 12 people, but once you're there you really just start to feel like there's space for everyone, and every show or special or um, book or project or whatever, which is a really encouraging feeling because so much of the time it feels like, oh, there's not enough room for all of us, and y'all made me really feel the opposite. um, I think like if I had my dream come true and my show gets made, I think I would go back to the y'all cohort to look for writers for the room, and I genuinely think that the other people would do the same. So that's like the level of relationship, um, I would say.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the community is so special, and there's so many ways to be part of it, like you were saying too. It's not just for the fellows, but also the finalists. I see some people here who performed in the festival this year, and like I feel like even the festival brings that community. It's unlike any festival I've ever been to. Um, so I love that. Okay, so I have two more questions. Um, I think if you could each pick, like, I'm just going to call it a couple of big specific things we've done. And if you could just pick one to spotlight and what you loved most about it or what you gained from it. Um, so I'm going to just say the training versus like the WGA script uh, writing, sorry, like punch up writers um, versus the festival. Like, and the festival, I'll say, no, I'll just leave it at that for now. If you want to like pick your favorite darling of the three and just tell us a little bit about it.
I think the pitch training weekend was some of the most um, value and fun packed into the smallest amount of time. Um, I feel like I truly learned how to pitch an idea, how to pitch my idea specifically. They take so much care of you. They feed you. They have people taking your notes when you're getting feedback, so that you don't have to be like, oh, and what was that, sir? Like, like you can just fully be present in the moment, and they'll send you your notes later so you can have them to refer to. Yeah, I feel like you really learn how to pitch any show. Like I feel like I have tools to go pitch my hour of stand up. I feel like I have tools to, if this idea dies or I decide I hate it, pitch my next show. And because there was other people pitching other forms of media in there, I know now how to pitch a one person show or a podcast or a short film or a feature. Like I learned from watching others. And I will say the pitch training isn't just a pitch training, because at the end of it, you basically do a mini version of the live pitch. You're pitching to like people um, in the industry on that last day. You've already practiced it like 4 times, so you're prepared. But it's like a mini version of the live pitch. It's like just to your peers and the panel, I believe, but it still is ultimately like an opportunity. So that was pretty cool.
We love to put a little fire under people's butts, to keep them guessing. Go on, Batoul.
Yeah, and like somebody who pitched that day, one of the fellows got, a general with somebody who's watching. Let me just say it that way. So like you never know who like follows up with you and is like, "Hey, you're cool. Let's, hop on a call or anything. I also really appreciate how much time is spread out between the training and then like the festival, because we had months to, we had like weekly sessions to just like work on our pitches, to work on our scripts. That's when we got to have our stuff read by WG writers. So like this is a very meticulously thought out um, program where you have time and then some, and then all the support in the world to practice your pitch to death. Um, and then Y'all Fest in general. Like I did a program where we were pitching and it was like virtually on a computer. And like, I'm gonna be honest, my script was very much so there. And now like, it was the hardest thing, but also like just the most rewarding to stand in a room and take up space and stand on a stage. I mean, we were at like Typewriter in Pasadena, which like comedians perform on that. Like it's crazy. So, just like a new dimension of pitching and feeling like you get to just a new skill under your belt is pretty invaluable to me.
That's so great. Okay, last question, and I think then we'll turn it over to Q&A, right, from everybody else. And those questions, again, you can put them in the link that Claire sent, and then Claire will kind of let us know who and what are the questions. I don't know who the questions are, but we're going to find out. Last question, can each of you just brag a tiny bit about like one of the outcomes that came from your festival pitch? Sorry to put you on the spot, but you're really cool and people should know.
I mean, I'll just say quickly, I name dropped like an actual actor. Like I maybe said it twice, and like maybe 90% of the panel were like, "Oh yeah, like let's hook you up guys up together." And so just like it's these are very well endowed. These are people who know people. So that was great. And just like out of all the follow-up emails, like they were all like, yeah, let's send me your stuff, set up a meeting. Couple done, couple more coming up in the next couple of weeks. Even people who are in the audience and not, I'm developing a story with the Moth right now because Kate Tellers, the director of the Moth, was there and she was like, I like you, kid. Let's talk about developing something. So like, lots of surprises.
Yeah, Batoul. I think it was rewarding in and of itself to uh pitch to the panel. I mean, like Judd Apatow's co-producer was one of the people, and he laughed at my jokes and said I was funny. That was like pretty cool. Um, and also coming from the stand-up world, you go to festivals or competitions or you do diversity programs or whatever, and you see execs kind of over and over and over again. And one thing I've heard is like, they're not going to, unless you're a certain few, they're not going to see you one time and be like, you're on the Tonight Show, like, it's about a process of like people seeing you develop over the years. And one of those kind of people who has, I think, kind of like, not necessarily had her eye on me over the years, but like our paths have continually crossed as I've gotten better and better and better, was at that live pitch. And I feel like I'm like nearing the point with her where, she's gaining that trust in me and my capabilities. And we're developing, like more of a relationship rather than a nice to meet you, ma'am, goodbye, so that's cool.
Amazing. Thank you both for sharing. Let's hear it for Batoul and Kate. Yay! Remember when we used to be on Zoom all the time during COVID and people started clapping like this? Okay, let's do it. All right. Claire and Katie, unless you have more questions for Batoul and Kate, I think we are ready to move on.
Great.
I was gonna say that our project, our beautiful Yes and Laughter Lab sounds a little bit like a cult, the way that we've described it. Like, who's in? Who wouldn't be in? Anyway,
Except for we just love our people so hard and we're like, get out into the
guys
world. The
crushed
world
it.
must do.
Sounds like your favorite cult.
Surprise.
Just kidding. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah,
Um,
these are wonderful.
yeah, we've got some great questions. And some questions we haven't heard before, which is great. I love a new question. Um, one of the questions is and maybe Bethany, you can speak to this as a comedian and as somebody who's on the eligibility, like reading on the jury. What is advice you have for people who are more amateur, starting to do their first projects in comedy, starting stand up for the first time, just is newer? Because we've had some really great success stories of people who are, very early 20s, just starting comedy and then getting accepted and really starting their comedy career with and alongside y'all.
That is
Yeah,
literally Batoul, really quick. That is literally Batoul. I mean,
You
anyway.
need no like long list of credits or just like
Yeah.
no major prerequisites. Just yeah. So just and like 23. Like I don't know why they picked me. So I don't know. Like just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and building off of that, I think if you are starting off, share the stuff that you're really proud of. Like focus on the stuff you're really proud of. Don't apologize for applying. And absolutely apply because but we have Batoul, we also have we had one guy who I love, is Luke from Minnesota, who he's just like this fantastic writer in Minnesota sitting on his couch coming up with brilliant ideas. He had no like formal credits, and man, did that guy sing. And like now he's living in LA and working as a creative. So don't let your lack of experience prevent you from applying. And also, if you don't get through, don't let that be an indicator that you're never going to get through again, like keep coming.
There's a similar question someone asked about if their project is based on and around a particular community that's outside of New York and Los Angeles, can they still apply to y'all and benefit from being a part of y'all?
Big yes. I almost said duh, but then that felt rude. Big yes.
Yeah, I think I mean, we are a US based uh, organization and fellowship program, so we do have certain eligibility, but we are very interested in meeting comedians and writers outside of New York and LA. And I think that every year there's a number of fellows and plenty of finalists who are based outside of, the sort of comedy entertainment hubs that we have these events in. But we have these events there because the industry is there. And we want to introduce you to the most amount of industry people in the limited time that you are working with us. So we want different perspectives. We want people from, different parts of the country. And we want to know what your story is. And especially if you're making something that feels like I want to bring this, Jackie Clea is a former fellow who has a touring native stand-up show. And so the show is not meant to only be in New York or only be in LA or San Francisco. It's meant to tour the country. It's meant to tour the world with native stand-ups. And, that was something that she felt like I need more networking. But this isn't meant to just live in these cities. It's meant to go all over the country. So that's really important to us as well.
And I would go so far as to say if you are not from a coast, that's actually very intriguing to us in many ways. So
So another question is about the script and like submitting materials, which we've talked about. Someone asked if it has to be if the 12 pages has to be from starting at page 1, and the answer is no. Give us your best 12 pages. Bethany, do you have thoughts or recommendations for writers on that?
no, I think it definitely doesn't have to be the first 12 pages if you want to give us a little tiny summary of what's happened until that point. Although I will also say I learned from the wonderful Brett Forrester at the last Y'all camp. I was taking notes. Um, that a cold open is a free excuse just to write an amazing sketch. So I think you can use those first few pages like really thoughtfully and just get us belly laughing out the gate, even if the rest of the episode isn't directly related to what you're sharing.
Guys, I can't believe I almost forgot Brent Forrester. That day was wild. He's the kindest person. I can't guarantee that he's going to be there next year. But like, my God, these people know just like the best, most talented people. So, oh my gosh, yeah.
Great. If you want to look him up, Brent Forrester, he's the office writer and director, and he has amazing workshops for writers, and we love working with him. We'll probably try to get him again this year coming
We'll
up.
make him.
Yeah. Um, a couple of questions about like if a project is already attached, either like they're working with other producers, is it still eligible to apply? And then the opposite question exists, like, is it okay if this is unattached, and it might become attached in the process? Is it okay to apply?
Yes and yes. And in fact, I would say we don't want to hold you back ever. So like if you are pursuing your project while you're in the lab, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think Kate, I think mentioned, or Batoul mentioned this, like the length of the lab is almost a year, and so we do expect like the project to change, your connections to change, and develop. And I would say this does remind me of one important note is that um, the project you apply to the lab with, you're going to be working on it for almost a year. You're going to be required to pitch that project in April 2026, which right now feels very far away. So you have to love this project. You have to be at least committed to it for another year. I would definitely recommend you have goals for it beyond a year. And just if you're thinking like you're deciding between a couple projects and one of them seems like maybe it'll get you into the lab, but you don't like it as much, I would just go with the one that you're more passionate about, that you really plan to be working on for years to come. Because best case scenario, you meet producers, you meet a network of people who want to help you develop it, and then you're working on this project, for the next decade. So you want to really like it. The next question that is coming up is just a bunch of questions about what is eligible. Somebody asked about a comedic video game project. That sounds amazing. I'm like, I now need to see that. I need to read that application. Any project that is comedy, and if you can just make a case for it, if it doesn't even seem like this is something that would be in a traditional pitch program or a pitch lab, you can make a case for it in your application. But usually, I mean, we have a really broad understanding. Like people have applied with books, with musicals, obviously TV and stand-up is probably the biggest group, but we had someone last year, Eric Lockley was a fellow. He submitted a silent film, which was incredible and amazing. And our committees that were reading it, like just were so drawn to it and so excited by the creativity. So really any genre, any format of comedy is welcome. Another question is about the rights and retaining the rights to work. So this is in our terms and conditions on our website, and I recommend reading them. I know it doesn't seem like you would ever read the terms and conditions, but ours is really just an explanation of what the program does and what's accepted, and it's pretty brief. We the non-lawyers like wrote the most of it, and then the real lawyers wrote the rest of it. But it's a legible document. I would recommend reading it. You retain the rights. Y'all does not take on or assume any rights if you're accepted into the program. The only thing that I think is relevant in that is that we like to promote your project, and so we promote your log line and we promote you as an artist, and we film your performances, but we only give that film to you, and you can decide to share it or post it or whatever you'd like. But I don't know if Kate or Batoul, do you have any thoughts about like the process of like being an artist and what it was like to bring like fresh IP basically into the lab?
It feels very protected, and in fact, when we sent out our scripts, we had to register them first. Um, yeah, it felt very protected.
Part of why our showcase is also invite only. So
Another couple of questions are about the topic, like what kind of social justice issue is relevant, or what is our definition of a social justice issue. And Caty gave her rapid fire list before, but um, it really is, I think, and I'll let Caty also speak to this, but we are really understanding that like there are so many different issues that affect our understanding of and our experience with equality and discrimination and bias. And if you feel like there is an underexplored or under discussed social justice issue that you think maybe it won't fit into the lab, you can make the case for it in the application. Like we have social justice leaders. Many of us have spent our careers working in advocacy on behalf of marginalized communities. We have a really good understanding, but there are emerging issues, unfortunately, that you might be somebody who can bring that to light and really convince this jury of experts that this is a social issue that is urgent and pressing and critical. And we don't want to limit it to just like certain buckets. Caty, do you have other thoughts on that, the social justice angle?
Uh, I think you crushed it, Claire. I think if the way that we've always articulated this really broadly, it's somewhere I wrote this very formally, but social justice at its purest form really means the right of all people to live fair, equitable lives and the structural underpinnings that make that not true, right? So if you take that as your kind of starting place and you think of, the big wicked problems that kind of we all share around the world and in our country specifically, I think that can be a useful framework. I hope that was helpful.
If I could just add
Yes,
something,
please.
I don't think your project has to be like making a persuasive argument about whatever social issue it is. Like
Mhm.
mine, like pretty obviously is like trans people in sports. And the show does not make the case that trans
Yeah.
people deserve to be playing sports and
Yes.
equality. It was like, look at these fucks. Like, look at these goofballs. Like, look at this group of friends who's dicking around. But then in my short answer questions, I was like, obviously, this issue is timely. This issue is important to me personally. I also was really hell bent on having like fat characters in the show, and I was like, I didn't need to like make the point through my show that fat people deserve dignity. I was just like, wouldn't it be sick if there was like a fat cast on TV? Like, I just, yeah, I just you can do that kind of like your project doesn't have to be making the argument, it just has to be related to the issue.
So
thank you
good,
for,
Kate. I'm so
yeah.
glad that you just piped in. Ooh, it was much better than my blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
No, but I think, yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Your job is to write the comedy, and to expose us to the viewpoints that you hold through comedy.
And something that I mentioned at the top, but we really encourage you to do this if you haven't already. But if you go to our website, there's a section on it that says fellows, and it has all the fellows from the past 6 years. And if you just read the synopsis of it, if you read truly all of them, you would really get a sense for how this kind of lives together, how central the issue is, but how central actually the comedy is really like the lead idea.
Um, Also, can I pipe in with one thing that you asked about 10 minutes ago, but no. If you're a new person applying to, this is just another hot tip. Share your answers, like just like what we do. I like copy and paste the questions into a Google Doc or whatever, ask 3 friends to read it and be like, does this make sense? Is this a fun read? And take those notes with an open mind. Okay.
Um, Bethany, is there any limitation with someone who has never been staffed or doesn't have reps or anything like that?
No way. No way, no way. I think normally about half of our fellows are unrepped, and we intentionally try and invite agents and managers um, to come and see or sit on the panels um, and and meet with our fellows. So please come.
There's a question that I think maybe any of you could answer, but Kate and Batoul, I'm curious, like if you've applied to YALL before or other labs before, and you're going to reapply, like it's the same project, but you're applying again to, another fellowship or a different fellowship, how do you improve or polish, from the first time you submitted it to the second time? What have you guys done?
I actually had this experience with the NBC Late Night Writers Workshop. I got to the interview round the first time and then was applying with, obviously different jokes, so they have to be topical, but like the short answer questions where you sell yourself, it's like, I'm kind of the same person. So I was just extremely candid and was like, I got to the interview stage last year. Here's the areas I think I wasn't ready in. Here's how I've evolved since then. Here's what I'm better at. I think you should take me this year. So I think being candid in the short answer question has really worked, and I got it the following year. So I think being candid about, hey, this is my second time around, and here's what I've done to improve, could do a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong on the reading side.
I'll give a very teacher answer, which I tell my students is read the prompt. Like, you want to make sure that you're answering what they're asking. And I always look back at like other applications. Um, if I didn't get it, if I did get it, it's like all information. And so like, is there one line that was particularly charming or funny, or did one line like really summarize you the best? And just really taking the application writing is like a writing genre in and of itself. And so like get people to read it, get people who don't know you that well to read it, and people who do know you that well to read it. So
Make it funnier.
Amazing. Make it funnier because it's so easy.
The one thing that we didn't actually say explicitly it's important, and I think you would have picked up on it for sure just listening to Kate and Batoul, but originality of your voice and your idea and your angle and your lens into something, originality is massively important. Because sometimes there's like a pile of applications around a particular topic and they're kind of treated all the same way. And if there's one that stands out as truly original, that's meaningful. So I think this goes nicely with what Bethany was saying, which is, the work that you're most proud of or the work that's most in your God, this is the one I really want to make. And the originality is really, really important. And it's something we mention in the criteria for sure. But I just wanted to highlight it because I think that actually does unite when I was just sitting here listening to the questions, thinking about all our fellows over the years. I think what truly unites all of them, truly, is all of them were projects where we probably said at one point, I have never thought about that the way they did it, right? Like Kate's wife carrying thing, we were like, is that real? That's unbelievably funny. She took a weird existing thing, made it topical and completely hilarious, right? So just can't emphasize enough the originality of the voice and the idea and the lens in is so important for a program like this.
And oh my gosh, your scripts, you guys are so funny. Building on that, another hot tip. We actually, and this is not just for the lab, I don't think. I think this is hiring in general. we are like also sitting with your applications being like, do I want to hang out with this person for a whole year? Like, who are they? Like, what's cool and fun about them? Like, what am I gonna ask TMI about with them? So like we want to really get a sense of who you are and not just your idea. We really like to elevate the whole person. And I don't
Well,
ask
thank
TMI.
you. We're my straight face every time Bethany goes off script. Well, you need a straight man for every colorful comedian, and that's our team. That's our time. Thank you all for joining. The website is yesandlaughterlab.com. Our apply page has all the info you need, the terms and conditions, and the link to submit an application. We use the platform Submittable. It makes it really simple for you to apply. But visit our website for updates. And thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Kate and Batoul, for being here and sharing
For
your
having me.
experience. And thank you, Bethany and Caty, and have a great night, everyone.